What's going on, everybody? Welcome in. It's the Friday Night Ticket, baby. Wager Alarm live stream. I'm your host, Howard Bender. With me, of course, Craig Mish. And Craig, well, here we go, man. We were meeting on Tuesday. We were looking at some of the early lines in the NFL, kind of scratching our heads. All those big old point spreads there for the Jets against the Patriots, and then the Cowboys against Miami. Well, we kind of, we looked through a couple of college lines. We looked through a number of professional games here, and I got to tell you, for the first time, we're actually going 3 pro games instead of just 2 with the college games here. Also, what's up?
Yeah, well, listen, we went 7-0 last week, as a lot of people know, and so of course we're gonna.
What did we do?
7-0, and this week we're going 7-0. We're gonna go 14-0 in 2 weeks, right? Parlay all these games. Throw $100 7-team parlay. Put your kid through college off our picks. That's the way to do it. Want to give it a shot?
You know what? I don't have any kids, so I don't need to worry about.
You could put my kid through college. You could put Matt Sell's kid through college.
All right. Well, why? You guys are so lazy. You can't be doing it for your own kid.
I have a prepaid plan, Howard. Thank you.
All right. Well, let's do it, man.
Thanks for throwing me under the bus, though. There, appreciate that. Let me go bet this parlay.
I know Hayes is watching, and Hayes is gonna be like, "Oh, so
Hayes
Howard's
Hayes
putting
is
me
not
through
home.
college?
I don't know where Hayes is. I think
Howard's my daddy. What?
Yeah, normally Hayes is sitting right next to me watching the live stream, but he's not here tonight. I'm teaching my son how to hit up 7-team parlays. 7 years old. It's a great idea. Great fatherhood there, right there. Appreciate that.
Father of the year in my book. Come on.
Hey. There it is. So anyway,
my dad drank and hit me. So you know what? Who's the better dad?
Okay. On that note, so we got 7 games to go over this week. It's the Golden Nugget contest. Howard and I are in the top 3 overall in the entire country. So congratulations to us in the Super Contest. We're doing okay. I think we can do a little bit better. We'll try to go 4-1 or 5-0 in the Westgate Super Contest. We'll see how we do this week, but. It does seem to be a little bit of a tougher week. It does seem to be a little bit of a tighter week, especially in the NFL. And as you get deeper into the college football season, you think you start to know more about these teams, but also the conference games begin. And so they get a little bit tougher as well. But just kind of looking at it, we'll actually have, believe it or not, one of the main college games on the board, which is rare. We usually don't do that. We search for a lot of different small school options a lot of different times, and that has seemed to go well for us. If you take our college football record over the last year combined with all the games we've done, it's been really good. And unfortunately, also for us this week, there's no free gimme game like we had on the Browns. So basically, we're up against the lines this week. Some have changed, some have stayed the same, but I think I'm ready to start going over some of the college. How about you?
I'm definitely ready to start with the college, and let's actually, we like to go in order usually of the way it lays out on the ticket, but I think it's important to hit that first game and tell everyone why we're suddenly going for one of these big top 25 games.
Okay.
And the big matchup that we weren't really looking at doing, and that is Georgia. First off, minus 14.
Yep.
Against Notre Dame, and yep. I mean, listen, I know that Notre Dame is the team that everybody loves to bet. But talk to me here why you're so good at laying points here.
Yeah, and it's rare. I think it's for us. We could probably go the entire season of live streams and only lay more than double digits once or twice all year. It's very rare for us to do this. Mm-hmm. But that's why this line seems like it's dragging you to Notre Dame. It just seems like, wow, Notre Dame getting 14 points. How could it possibly be? And the truth is that going back to last year, I lost all faith in the Fighting Irish after that playoff. I don't think they deserve to be in it. I would never put them in it again until things change for them schematically or they join one of the Power 5 conferences, because they just don't have the talent that a lot of these other teams have. And you saw it last year against Clemson. This year they play Georgia. Georgia is as good as any other team in the country. They may not be ranked number 1 or number 2, but they're right behind Clemson and Alabama. And I would guess in the SEC championship, if Georgia gets there, they absolutely will give Alabama a run for their money. No doubt about that. In terms of Notre Dame, let's talk about where they're kind of at going into this game. They've only played a top 5 SEC ranked opponent once in the last 20 years, and they lost that game by 24 points. Also, Notre Dame hasn't beaten a top 5 team in all of college football in 4 years. So I watched a little bit of this game last week where Notre Dame played against New Mexico, and they did get off to a 14-0 lead, but New Mexico stayed with them toe-to-toe. I don't think the Fighting Irish defense is very good, and Georgia's offense is one of the best in the country. I think Georgia wins this game by 4 touchdowns. I think Jake Fromm goes nuts. I think this is a complete mismatch on paper, and I don't give Notre Dame any chance whatsoever to win in this game or even stay close. I think they're fraudulent. They shouldn't be in the top 10 to start the season. Somehow every year, Howard, when the season starts, Notre Dame is always ranked. Based on what? I don't get it. And as you said, and we've talked about this on live streams before, in college football, there's a handful of teams that are always going to get bet by the public. What does that mean? You're not a huge fan of sports, but you're in Las Vegas, and you go and you walk in and say, oh, honey, there's the sports book. What should we bet? Let's take a look. You're looking at Texas Tech and Oklahoma. Oh, Notre Dame. I know them. Let's take $20 and put it on Notre Dame. The public. Foolish. It's true. It's what happens.
I know it's true.
NFL. Oh, honey, look at those games in the NFL. Oh, Dallas Cowboys, America's team. Let's put $20 on them. Those are the two teams that are bet the most historically. We're going back 50 years. The public bets those teams, and again, look at this line. If this game was going to be close, wouldn't the line be like 10.5, 9.5, something? They're telling you this is a blowout. So Georgia blows out Notre Dame in game 1.
I love it. Absolutely love it. All right, next game here. I was taking a look at Illinois getting 13.5 points here against Nebraska. This isn't as much of a hey, I'm into Illinois. I did watch their game last week against Eastern Michigan. They didn't get off to they got off to an okay start, and they kind of went toe to toe a little bit, and then all of a sudden Eastern Michigan lucked out and just kind of ended up with a lead, and then Illinois came back in that second half there. So I'm just kind of watching the flow of that game, and then I look at Nebraska, and I think that Nebraska is a team that gets picked in certain instances based on name and reputation. And I just think that they are not that good of a team. I think we were going up against them, or went against them. Oh, it was the Colorado game. I ended up picking Air Force over Colorado because of the way Colorado looked and beat Nebraska. And the big emotional thing there, if you got beat by Colorado, I'm sorry. You're not laying 13.5 points to Illinois.
Yeah, Scott Frost is a really good head coach. He did a great job, and he was at University of Central Florida. So, Howard, you can imagine he was the one who really built that program up, UCF, to score all the points that they did. But inevitably, he decided to leave and go back to the school that he played quarterback for. And a lot of people thought going into this year with a great quarterback like Adrian Martinez that Nebraska had a chance to win their conference. They were also only about 10 or 12 to 1 to win the national championship, but that looks like a gross miscalculation of their season for sure. Illinois' offense isn't great. Their defense is a little bit better this year. They have a transfer who's playing defensive end who looks like he could be a top 10 NFL pick coming up this year. Lovie Smith is, of course, the head coach there. He's got a ton of pressure on him to win some games. I don't think that Illinois will win this game, but I do think that they will keep it close. So I think that Nebraska wins this by 7 to 10 points. And remember, a late game garbage time touchdown, Nebraska can be up 16 points with 2 minutes to go, and all Illinois has to do is score a touchdown late, even go for 2 and miss it, and it's fine. So a little bit dangerous, of course, because of the line being so big and Nebraska being good, but an overrated team and getting 14 points at home, I think you got to side with the dog here. So we'll take Illinois plus 13.5 in the Golden Nugget contest tomorrow.
All right. Well, that's the second game there. The third game here, we want to go back and go up against Mississippi State at home again. We're going with Kentucky getting 6 points here. Last week it was Kansas State going into Mississippi State and handing them an outright loss, which you called, by the way, and Mazel Tov on that one there. So thumbs up. So talk to me here, Kentucky. They're not the Kentucky that they were last year, but you're just anti-Mississippi State, aren't you?
I think I am, and this is a lesson to be learned for people. Remember that look, we all have lives. Well, some of us. But it's really hard to watch every single college football game. So naturally, when we have our opinions or money or whatever in these contests on these games, we get to watch a little bit more of them. And that's a pretty good idea in terms of handicapping. If you're not doing a conference and you don't like the way a team played and you went against them, why not go back to that well again? Let the trend be your friend. So In this case, Mississippi State did not look good at all against Kansas State. We will give Kansas State credit for playing well and beating them soundly in the fourth quarter. But Kentucky's been really impressive. They've been much better than I thought. They gave last week's game away against Florida. And you know I'm a Gator, and the Gators really did not deserve to win that game. But hopefully there's no letdown, by the way, for Kentucky coming off that. That's a tough game to get back up for after you lose like that. But the Wildcats' issue this season has been penalties more than anything else. So I think that's a fixable problem. If they can cut back on that, I think they also have a chance to win this game outright. And Kylan Hill, who is Mississippi State's running back, he's probably a top 10 running back in the country. He's not like at the top, but he's somewhere in the middle. That would be the danger zone for me, is he's got a chance to have a really good game. Kentucky's defense is a little bit suspect, but in terms of their offensive line, UK is grading among the top 10 teams in the country, not in the SEC, but in the country. So that's a really good sign too. Close game, I think, for me in this one. I think there's certainly a chance that Mississippi State ends up winning. They don't turn the ball over all that much, so I feel like this could end up being a low-scoring game, like 23-20, 21-17, 26-24. I think Mississippi State wins, but I'll take the Wildcats plus these 6.5 points. And obviously, if you're playing this online and you have the opportunity to buy a half a point, you want to do that and get 7. Yeah, for sure.
I like it. I like it a lot. All right. So, and then the fourth game that we're looking at for college here, a team that you actually wanted to take last week. And they were actually laying 10 points last week and covered
no problem
handily in that one. You're going back to the well here. It's Louisville.
Same thing. Yep.
Against Florida State. But now Louisville's actually getting 6.5. Last week they were given the 10. And I was like, I don't know about that. Now you're telling me that they're getting 6.5 here against Florida State, who ruined us in, I think, the first week of the season. We picked against them and it didn't pan out.
We actually picked them to cover a spread by 21. They were up 21-0, and then Louisiana Monroe took them all the way back to overtime. But if you think about it, Louisville would have been our 8th pick last week, Howard. We would have went 8-0 if we had one more pick. Think about that in the Golden Nugget, which is true. So Florida State. Let's talk about Florida State. They're 0-3 against the spread this season. They're 1-2 on the season. The boosters are already very upset with this head coach, Willie Taggart, who has come in since Jimbo Fisher left. It's been a complete disaster. He's got a $17 million buyout, including his contract. I don't know, Howard. Is FSU going to eat that thing after the year? They may have no choice. Colleges do that sometimes. Now, FSU's offense is great. James Blackman is a really good quarterback, but the Noles defense is bottom 5 in the country. They've been awful, and so they brought in a defensive consultant who can't be a coach. He can only consult during the week, and so on game days he can't be there. This is Jim Leavitt. I know Jim Leavitt. He used to coach at the University of South Florida and did a good job there until he got in some trouble and then ended up being gone. And I think inevitably he'll be back in some form coaching with them. But again, he can't coach on the field, but he's a very good defensive mind. FSU's averaging giving up 30 points per game. Louisville, on the other hand, has a young stud in the backfield. Hawkins has been one of the best running backs yards per carry in the country, almost 7 yards a carry. They also have 2 quarterbacks that are doing a nice job. Satterfield came over, and he's done a nice job coaching the Cardinals this season. FSU may win the game. Look, they are so desperate to win. This could finally be the game that they win. But I think they're 0-4 after this game against the spread. How could you possibly not go against FSU at this point? They look like a team completely in turmoil. And I think they may have to buy out this coach at the end of the year and go fresh, because this is one of those programs in college, Howard, where there's no tolerance for losing. You can't have 2 or 3 losing seasons back to back to back. So we'll take Louisville. I think they have a chance to win outright, plus 6.5. So Louisville plus 6.5, Georgia minus 14, Kentucky plus 6, and then the Fighting Illini, the Fighting Lovie Smiths with the beard, plus 13.5.
Yes, that's exactly who it is. Those are our 4 college games. Let's do our 3 pro games here. For the Golden Nugget. Before we do that, I just want to throw out a little love to our sponsor here for the live stream at Wager Alarm, and that's Monkey Knife Fight. If you guys love fantasy sports, and how come you're not playing daily fantasy on monkeyknifefight.com? It's the fastest growing daily fantasy site on the planet. Why? Because it's pure awesomeness. Pure awesomeness. At monkeyknifefight.com, you're playing against the house. No sharks, no confusing interface, and no advanced degree needed to have a snowball's chance of winning. And right now, for a limited time, get the Fantasy Alarm NFL Playbook Pro Package for free. That's right, free. when you sign up and deposit at Monkey Knife Fight today. So go to fantasyalarm.com/monkey to find out more, and then change the way you play your daily fantasy sports. So big shout out to Monkey Knife Fight. Thanks so much for sponsoring us here on the live stream. Now, 4 games for college in the hopper. That gives us 3 pro games that we want to talk about right now. I guess let's start with the big one here, because I think that Kansas City against the Ravens is going to be. I think this is going to be a popular game to bet, and I don't think the one thing that makes me a little nervous about this one here is that I think that the public is going to be backing Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens like we are, but I do it because Kansas City's got an overrated crap defense. Not that I'm like suckered into what Lamar Jackson is doing in Baltimore. I like what he's doing. But this is more a play against Spags as the new defensive coordinator, and them losing a lot of defensive players like Dee Ford and Justin Houston. They have to put up 50 points a game here because they're giving up 40.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Kansas City is going to go 16-0 against the spread this season, so eventually they won't cover one. Look, the Ravens are not as good as Kansas City. Okay, I mean, the Chiefs are either the best team in the NFL or one of the best 3 teams in the NFL, but when you have a team that doesn't have a great defense, it gives you the ability, with as many points as you may be up, to allow a cover or even a backdoor cover. So in this particular case, I think that the Ravens can run the ball effectively enough to keep this game close. It is dangerous going against Kansas City. It's very dangerous because last week, if you took the Raiders as an example, they went up, I believe, 10-0, getting 8 points, and you thought, wow, I'm plus 18 right now. And then they had like the best second quarter in the history of football there, scoring like 24 points or whatever it was. So this is not my favorite game of all of the NFL games that we will review. But I will say that I will back the Ravens plus the 6.5 in this one. Of the 5 games, I would say this is probably my 3rd favorite game of the 5 that we'll have.
Which means that the other 2 are your 2 favorites, isn't it?
That is good math on your part.
Listen, I try. No calculator either. How about that one? Let's talk about the next one here. Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yes, this is
cross country.
Good one here. I'm not really sure why. Look, again, the 49ers give them a lot of credit. They beat 2 bad teams. They beat them soundly. But I'm not sure how the 49ers get to 7-point favorites over any team in the NFL. And the Steelers, without a doubt, this is a very questionable quarterback. I follow people on social media. I listen to radio all day. I hear people who've never seen Mason Rudolph play a single game calling him great. Okay, slow down a little bit here, okay? He played at Oklahoma State with arguably one of the best offensive minds in all of college football in Mike Gundy, who has made tons of players come out of Oklahoma State who have not amounted to a lot in the NFL. So let's be careful a little bit with Rudolph. But what I will say is this. He did show a propensity in the second half to at least hit Vance McDonald a lot. Those targets ended up working out. Connor is healthy, I believe. He's going to play in this game, so that will also help the situation. And he's not getting thrown into the fire. He's getting a full week of practice. The 49ers defense is okay, and maybe it's even above average. If this was Pittsburgh, for example, going to a team like the Bears, and even if Pittsburgh was only getting 4 points, Howard, I wouldn't do it. I don't want a rookie quarterback going against a very strong defensive scheme. I wouldn't side that. But with Ben playing in this game, I would have the game about even, I would think, right? If Roethlisberger was playing, is he worth 7 points? That seems like a lot. That seems like a lot.
He's not. And for the last, 3-4 years, we've all been talking about Ben's home road splits and how bad he's been on the road. See, here's the thing about this game I think this is the perfect trap game for a team like San Francisco. Because I think that San Francisco thinks that they are better than they are, and I think Kyle Shanahan does. But you look at that game against Tampa Bay, it wasn't the offense that was scoring. No, it was 2 defensive touchdowns that helped give them the push away from Tampa Bay in that game. So that's Tampa Bay losing the game. That's not San Francisco winning the game. Did they handily beat Cincinnati? Yes, they did. But Cincinnati, again, we talked about it was fool's gold offense. Because the Seattle secondary is not strong. It's not strong at all, and it's not been what it was. So to see Cincinnati go into Seattle and have that game that they had, and Andy Dalton passing for 300 plus yards, and oh my God, and John Ross with the big lucky long touchdown. To me, this is that situation that's the perfect trap game for a team like San Francisco. They think they're better than they are. You've got a team coming all the way across country with a new quarterback, and they don't know what to do. And they lost Antonio Brown, they lost Le'Veon Bell, and so to me, I look at this and I say, I don't need Mason Rudolph to be this Patrick Mahomes gunslinger, not at all. Give me a good, strong, solid ground game with James Conner. You give me an efficient quarterback. That's all I need. Juju Smith-Schuster should be catching passes. He's got that Oklahoma State connection with James Washington if he wants to take it deep, and he can lean on a big, strong, sturdy tight end. I love the Steelers going in this one, and here's another one where I think they can go outright.
Yeah, I feel like this is a good play. If you're on Pittsburgh this week, you only have one fear. And I don't even think that it's a real fear. It looks like, at least from watching the games last week, and we'll see how it plays out, it looks like the Bengals, their run defense could be the worst in the NFL. So if that's the case, I think you have to eliminate those 250 yards that San Francisco did and ran up against Cincinnati. And there's nothing against Breida or Mostert or Jeff Wilson, but 250 is a big number in this day and age of the NFL with all the passing going on. And the 49ers just had no interest whatsoever. All those passing yards were on a few plays for Jimmy Garoppolo. They were just bombs after eventually the Bengals had to bring everybody up because they were constantly running. So I agree with you. I think that Pittsburgh definitely has a chance to win this game outright. We don't know enough about Mason Rudolph, though, to say that, to go that far with it, because we have to see him play a little bit. And again, it's his first start, but it's not going against a Ravens. I know the Ravens defense isn't as good as it used to be, but it's not going into Baltimore against the Ravens. It's not going into Chicago taking on the Bears, or it's not going into New England taking on the Patriots if you're Mason Rudolph. It's the 49ers. It feels like it's a winnable 49ers. Game.
Plus, let's also take the fact that Big Ben didn't practice. He never practiced on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. So who was running the offense with the ones? It was Mason Rudolph. He got the freeze out from Ben that, he didn't want him replacing him or taking his job. Again, it's about efficiency. He doesn't need to have a big arm. He needs to be accurate. It's like Minshew. It's like Minshew with the Jags right now. You don't need to have a big arm here. If you're efficient and you got a strong completion rate and you're playing mistake-free football, look at what your team can do. So, yeah. So we don't need to linger on that one anymore.
Okay.
Last pick for the Super Contest here. Another one that you and I both really like, and we kind of think that it's like a really weird sort of line as well, and that's the Rams on the road in Cleveland, and it's only Rams -3. I mean, when I see a line like that, it kind of makes me think, well, they're begging you to take the Rams and just lay 3 points, but I don't know, man. I think people are just way too buying into this Baker Mayfield hype. Yeah, 89-yard touchdown from Odell Beckham.
Yeah, I think that there's just a lot of helium on Cleveland for reasons that I don't understand. The Browns could be 8-8 or 9-7 at the end of the season, but they have not looked good in the 2 games that I've played. Mayfield's quarterback rating is 40 on the season. It seems like they're kind of getting away from what they did very well at the end of last year, and the Rams defense to me is pretty good. I mean, I don't know. I must be missing something. The Rams are 6-1 against the spread in their last 7 games. Mm-hmm. They're 11-2 on the road straight up in their last 13 games. And look, there are some lines that I'll look at, Howard, and I'll say, hell, this is a fishy line. It looks off. I don't really feel it's fishy. I kind of understand that they don't want to get murdered with Browns backers on Sunday night. Oh, they're playing in the dog pound, but I don't think Cleveland's there yet. I really don't. And if they're going to have a coming out party, maybe indeed this is the one. But I think the Rams are the better team for sure. And I like this one as much as I like any other game on the schedule. And we've been really good on Sunday night. So I want to go back to that, and we'll take the Rams -3.
Very happy to do that. Now, those 3 games we are doing also in the Westgate Super Contest as well. The lines stay the same. It's Ravens +6.5, Steelers +6.5, Rams -3. So for our other two games, let's get it started here. It was a pick that you liked more than I did, and then we took another one that was a pick I liked more than you did. So let's start off here. Look at the Denver Broncos +7.5 going into Lambeau to face the Packers.
Yeah, I watched the Packers play a lot last week because I had Minnesota, and I watched Denver play a lot last week against the Bears because we had Denver in that game. And again, I did not expect to go into this week wanting to take the Broncos, but simply put, I don't think at this stage of what, at least from what I've seen from Matt LaFleur, it appears as though they are not going to allow Aaron Rodgers to be the quarterback that he was in the past. There's a lot of running and a lot of short passing. And the other thing that I find really interesting, Howard, very interesting, and I want you to watch this in this week's game, I counted at least 3 or 4 different times where the clock was on 1 second or 0 when he snapped that ball. Now, I don't know if that's by design, if they're trying to speed the games up or essentially slow the games down in terms of clock. But Minnesota, after they gave up a couple of touchdowns, they completely shut down the Packers in the second half. Rodgers dropped the ball. Look, I'm not counting him out. I still think he's an elite quarterback in the NFL. But we've seen 2 weeks now, Howard, of where is the Aaron Rodgers statistically that we've seen in the past? We didn't see it week 1 against the Bears. Oh, it was just the Bears. We didn't see it week 2 against Minnesota. Oh, it was just them. Guess what? Denver's defense is pretty good too. I mean, Denver's looked defensively fine in the first 2 weeks of the season. So I'm getting 7.5 points in this game. I don't think that Green Bay goes from -3 against Minnesota to an extra 4.5 points against the Broncos. I think they keep this thing close. Look, Flacco is obviously a concern to make mistakes, but I do think that they have enough running. I think this is a super, super low-scoring game, like in the teens, and I think that Denver ends up covering this one, and I would not be shocked if they won. And it's really has nothing to do with the week before because I don't think that they're a great football team, but these are two all of a sudden more defensive-minded teams than they are offensive, I think. So I want to take as many points as I can here and get to 7.5.
All right. You stated your case. It all worked for me. Let's do it. Then you turned around and you sort of conceded to me as the Carolina Panthers, getting 3 here on the road in Arizona. A lot of faith in Ron Rivera and the Carolina Panthers defense here. I worry because, I don't worry about the pick. I worry when I look at a team like Arizona that doesn't play for the first 3 quarters of the game, and then they're in catch-up mode, and all of a sudden you see all these, Kyler Murray stats that everybody's raving about, and it's all fourth quarter play. It's all garbage time play. It's like when the Jags had Allen Robinson was the greatest receiver of all time, and it was all just, you had to wait until the fourth quarter to when he caught that 72-yard bomb. And I just don't think that flies against the Carolina defense this week here. I think that Carolina comes in there. I think they try to control the pace. They use a lot of Christian McCaffrey in there, a lot of short. It's Kyle Allen. He's an undrafted free agent. Wasn't great out of Houston when he came out of there. Whatever. Again, he needs to just be a game manager who's going to hand up. Listen, we already know Christian McCaffrey's going to touch the ball 35 times this game.
He better. We know last week. Yeah, I think there are 2 things for me why I like this game. The first is Carolina is coming off a Thursday night game, so they have 10 days to prepare for Arizona. That's what I like. And I do really like a team that's desperate. And there may not be any more desperate team in the NFL going into this week than the Panthers. This is it. They lose at Arizona. And the odds would point to almost a 5 or 10% chance that they make the playoffs. Think about it. They would have to probably go 10-5, or wait, what am I saying? 10-4, 10-3. Excuse me. The rest of the way, I can't even count. 10-3 in the last 13 games of the season. They're not doing that.
No.
So it's a back against the wall game. It's do or die. They have to win. Of course, Arizona wants to win. Of course, the Cardinals want to win. But look, they're in a different position. And so maybe Allen will surprise some people. I think that's certainly possible. But look, the line is still only 3 for a reason. Vegas knows what they're doing. If this kid, Kyle Allen, wasn't any good, then why isn't Arizona 4 or 5 points? It should be that.
Right.
So they're seeing something too. So we'll take the Panthers and we'll take the points this week. And again, they don't have to win; they just have to cover.
There you go. That's all it is. They just need to cover. So that's going to do it there. There you go. Those are our 5 picks for the Westgate Super Contest. Again, it's Broncos 7.5, Ravens 6.5, getting 6.5, Carolina getting 3, Steelers getting 6.5. Look at us, man, just taking these dogs, baby. I love it. And then
we got one favorite, the Rams.
Right? Yeah, we're giving 3 for the Rams. So
Rams are going to win, and they're going to beat Cleveland bad.
Yeah,
I think that's one game that I don't get it. I don't understand it, and I know
Aaron
the Rams.
Donald's going to break Baker Mayfield.
It's going to be a problem for the Browns. I don't know. I mean, when was the last time the Browns were on a Sunday night game? Forever. Yes, that's true. But I've watched their first 2 games, and I'm not impressed at all. So let's roll.
Let's rock and roll it. There you go. Those are our picks for the Golden Nugget and the Super Contest. Again, as soon as those tickets come back to me, I will post them over at wageralarm.com so that you guys can follow along and see what's up. We're 6-4 in the Super Contest. We're 11-3 in the Golden Nugget right now.
Can't complain with that. That's for sure.
Can't complain at all. Big thanks to my man Matt Sells for producing for us. For Craig Mish, I'm Howard Bender. This has been the Wager Alarm live stream, and we'll catch you next time.